What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 8 of the Boochcast reviews, Darkside of the 2000s. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the one, the only, the broke soulless ginger, Mr. Zack Scott.
What's up, dude and dudettes? Yes, it's me, the broke soulless ginger, Zack Scott. Generally speaking, I'm not that broke yet, and today we are talking about Charlie Sheen's motherfucking ass.
He's definitely a wild card.
Oh man, he was a wild card as hell.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. This week, here on Darkside of the 2000s, we are covering one of the craziest motherfuckers on Earth, and that is, of course, Charlie Sheen, who is addicted to winning.
Winning.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that craziness right here, right now, with Charlie Sheen. In the early 2000s, things for Charlie Sheen seem to be going in the right direction. He's newly married and TV's most bankable star. But with Charlie, what goes up always seems to come crashing down. His latest fall leaves him battling one of Hollywood's most successful producers, where the losers could be not just Charlie's career, but everyone working for Two and a Half Men. Because we mentioned this before during the Lindsay Lohan episode that we did a while back. And that is, when you're the star of a show and shit goes down, it's not just you who suffers. It's the entire crew, the entire cast. When you go down, especially if you're the star, the entire production can go down. And that's lots of people who can end up jobless. In the spring of 2011, actor Charlie Sheen sits down in front of a camera in his Beverly Hills mansion and live streams a seemingly incoherent tirade. And I got the bulk of it right here. This is basically what Charlie Sheen says to this successful Hollywood producer. There's been global speak regarding my tiger blood. To avoid any speculation, I will now allow my precious tiger blood to be extracted. I see you, worm, behind your plastic smile, your bitchy pout, your desperate need to be liked. Can you smell your soul? Can you smell the rotting dog shit? The fermented puke that is your viscera? Hiya, Chuck E. Cheese ball. You gotta hate that your stage name rhymes with shuck. If sad and stupid had a foul odor attached, it would be you. Fucking bore. You picked a fight with a warlock, you little worm. Think of me as you pray to the silly god of AA while begging refuge from the contaminated image of hatred and dismay. I get the feeling he doesn't like this person very much.
I can feel like he was not very happy at all, Vinny. Wasn't happy at all.
At all?
At all. Oh no, he sounded like he had a couple of haters. You think he had a couple of haters?
I think he had one.
I think he had a lot of haters.
Well, as he started to have his meltdown, yes, but right now he only hated one particular individual. But damn, I've hated people, but never to that extent. Jesus.
Hate people?
Yeah, but
I never, Vinny Bucci. He never hates people. He loves being around people. Here's my point.
Yeah. I'm just saying, though, I've never been that harsh.
I don't know about that.
Really? I've called people fermented puke.
You said worse.
I've said worse than this.
Yes.
I've said worse than this.
Yes.
Can you quote a time?
No, I don't.
But there's a method to his madness and a target. TV producer Chuck Lorre.
Chuck Lorre.
This is who he's referring to, Chuck Lorre.
I can't hang Chuck Lorre because I like Chuck Lorre.
Chuck is the creator of Two and a Half Men.
Now,
the hit
time out.
sitcom.
Did you ever watch that show?
Never saw it.
It's actually not that bad. It's actually very, very good.
I'm sure it is. I just never watched it. Because this was during a time when I was not a big fan of I liked some sitcoms, but it wasn't something I watched regularly.
I watched every single episode.
I'm the type of person when it comes to sitcoms, I was so late to the fucking party on all of them. The hit sitcom Charlie had been fired from a day earlier. So he gets fired from Two and a Half Men and then did this rant on Chuck Lorre. Long a favorite of the tabloid press. Yes, they're back again. Oh my God, they're back again.
Charlie's in the saddle again.
Yes, Charlie's very public war with Chuck Lorre will rocket him to the top of the list of Hollywood's craziest bad boys of all time. He was seen as a giant baby throwing an incredible temper tantrum. That's how people saw him, just a guy throwing a tantrum, losing his goddamn mind. Some cases he might have been right, in some cases he might have been wrong. Charlie begins life as an actual baby, though, and his name was Carlos Irwin Estevez. That's his birth name, or as we say on the show, that's his Christian name. His Christian name is Carlos Irwin Estevez.
Yep, brother of Coach Bombay.
Emilio! Emilio! As the third child of screen legend Martin Sheen, Charlie gets his first glimpse at the dark side of show business on the grueling and drug-filled set of Apocalypse Now. But instead of discouraging him, Charlie follows in his dad's footsteps, starting with a small role in the Cold War teen drama Red Dawn. So that's like his first role. Apparently, I'm assuming his dad was in Apocalypse Now?
Yes. That's my grandfather's favorite war movie of all time.
Apocalypse Now?
Yeah. Stuff like that. And that movie right there, that's a dark movie. Because guess who's also in that movie?
Dennis Hopper?
No, Marlon Brando.
Wait, isn't Dennis Hopper in Apocalypse?
I don't think so.
Dennis Hopper was definitely in that movie.
Yeah, but it's also Marlon Brando played the guy Martin Sheen was supposed to go capture.
Is that the movie where they said, I love the smell of napalm in the morning?
Yep.
Okay, I never seen Apocalypse Now, but Red Dawn was when he first started actually in the movie. So Charlie Sheen was just on the set.
Yeah.
So he got to watch his dad act in that movie, but he saw like all the crazy shit that happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, you're going to see some dark shit.
You see some dark shit.
Charlie cut his own reputation in some really significant movies at a young age. But it's a memorable cameo in the John Hughes classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off alongside Jennifer Grey that shows his on-screen appeal. He was in the movie for maybe 4 minutes, never left the couch, but was still one of the most memorable scenes in the movie.
That guy wasn't on drugs in that movie. I'm not a ginger.
Well, that's what he was in there for, that you're here for drugs.
Yeah, we're in here.
Drugs. He was honest about it. And then eventually...
Look how young he was in that movie.
Here's the thing. He's so fucking young, I didn't even know that was him.
I was like, who is that? My dad goes, buddy, that's Charlie Sheen. I was like, that's Charlie Sheen?
Honestly, you know who I thought it was when I first saw him?
Oh, fuck.
Who I thought that was?
What? Who?
The guy from Breakfast Club, Bender.
Oh, really?
I thought it was him. I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head. But I never would have guessed that was Charlie Sheen. And I love about this scene in Ferris Bueller is the fact that it plays into something that a lot of young actors and actresses in Hollywood need to know.
What?
There's an old saying, and it rings true, that there's no such thing as a small part, it's only small actors. Whatever role you have, if you play it and you play it well, it can be noticeable. Think about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Think about how classic that movie was. All the memorable scenes, all the quotable moments, and yet Charlie Sheen, who's only in the movie for 4 minutes, he never leaves the couch. He's on that couch the whole time.
The whole time.
Even at the point when Jennifer Grey and Charlie Sheen are making out and the mom grabs Jennifer and takes her home. Mm-hmm. And everything else. Charlie Sheen, still sitting on that couch. Never leaves the couch. And yet, people remember that fucking scene.
My favorite scene would have to be Twisted Shout.
You know what I thought was even funnier? His dad's working in the office building and he starts twisting, doing the twist, not knowing that his son is down there fucking singing and taking over. That's one of those great moments.
My daddy caught me skipping school singing the Beatles Twist and Shout. Banded forever.
Here's the thing. In the heat of the moment, I know my family. In the heat of the moment, I would get grounded and I would be in deep shit. But when I got out of school and I became an adult, that's a story. When I get older, because obviously my parents would punish me in the moment because I would have to learn that skipping school is not okay. But once I'm an adult and I understand right from wrong, that's a story my dad would tell a long time ago. Hey, he was on the float singing Twist and Shout. Dude skipped school. I was so fucking pissed, but dude fucking rocked it. But here's the thing though. That moment Charlie Sheen was remembered for. And if you do good scenes like that, it can propel your career. Sure. That's an example. Another example, and I know I talked about this during the TV for teens, but I'll bring it up here, was Dean Cain, who we all know as Superman from Lois and Clark, Adventures of Superman. Some of you know him as a bit of a conservative activist on social media. But he was in the show Beverly Hills 90210. He was in a couple episodes. When Brenda went abroad to England, she was walking around with a fake British accent. She used to have fun. And then she was kind of flirting with this guy. Then eventually came back to America. And then apparently Dean Cain transferred over. So for a while, Brenda's putting on the facade until finally she has to confess, I don't have a British accent. I honestly didn't think I'd ever see you again. And eventually he forgives her. And they date for a while. And then eventually they break up. So he was in a few episodes. Because Beverly Hills 90210, as we established before, became so fucking popular, especially during Desert Storm, he built a fan base off of that. So years later, when he's auditioning for Superman, at first the casting director didn't like him. She said, this is Superman, not Superboy. She thought she was too young to play the role. But when you audition for Superman, there were certain aspects that they had to audition you for. First, they had to see if you could act. That's for playing the role of Clark Kent. To be Clark Kent, you have to act. For Superman, you had to fill the costume. So you might be a great actor, but if you don't look good in the costume, if you don't look like the Man of Steel, it ain't gonna fit. It ain't gonna work. Like, for example, me, I'd knock Clark Kent out of the fucking park. but I would not look good in the Superman costume.
I'll play a shitty Clark Kent, but I think I'll make the new Superman outfit look damn good.
Yeah, you would fill the costume out very well. So anyway, he gets brought in for the callback because the casting director was outvoted by a few other people who really, really liked him. They bring him back. As she's coming back, the casting director's walking into the building where they're holding the audition, and all these teenage girls are outside with signs. And they're out there clamoring, and this lady goes, "What are all of you doing here?" And she said, "We heard Dean Cain was in town," because they were all Beverly Hills fans. So now they realized Dean Cain had a built-in fan base, which propelled him to the top. Then he put on the Superman costume and found out that not only did Dean Cain fill out the costume, but they noticed something else that became a long-term joke. Dean's packing heat. There was a giant bulge in the fucking bed. Like at one point she puts the costume on and his mom is standing there because his mom made the costume for him. Part of Superman lore.
Yeah.
And he's taking out the glasses and he goes, "How are these glasses going to fool anybody?" And she goes, "I doubt anyone's going to be looking at your face." He's like, "Mom!" But that's the point. Charlie Sheen did 4 minutes of Ferris Bueller and people loved him instantly. So just because you have a small part, don't assume it can't take you somewhere. Whatever role they give you, get on the set. Make the connections. Even if you're an extra in the background. Do the job. Do what they tell you to do. Make the connections. It can lead to more gigs and get you up the higher mountain. And Charlie Sheen is proof of that. Like I said, he was 4 minutes at Ferris Bueller. Look where his career went after that. In fact, starring roles in Oliver Stone's Platoon.
That's by far my favorite Charlie Sheen movie, my favorite war movie of all time.
And Wall Street cement Charlie Sheen as a legitimate dramatic actor. He made it on his own merits, not because of who his dad is. Which is another reason to respect Charlie Sheen. His dad didn't get him any connections that I'm aware of. He wanted to make it on his own merits, which I respect. Now I'm sure that his dad might have opened some doors for him a little bit unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll at least hear him out. But he's not someone whose whole career was based off his parents' success. So it might have helped a little bit, but not enough to make him a Nepo baby, like Charlotte Flair. But it's his performance off screen that puts Charlie's promising movie career in jeopardy. He was a client of Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss.
Yep.
He paid more than $53,000 for Fleiss's prostitutes between 1991 and 1993. Now, I'm assuming $53,000 is the total amount over the course of those 2 years. If you're doing that per hooker, you're a fucking idiot. Dude, seriously? Paying that much money for hookers? But again, as I've mentioned before, the hookers can be a good thing. You know why?
Why?
They're discreet. They don't tattletale. They keep things the way you want them to be. Prostitutes aren't looking to get married. They're not looking to have your children.
No, they're not.
Here's the money, here's the sex and the companionship, and out the door you go. So I understand why they would want hookers. And Heidi Fleiss. How can I just say, I'm glad to see a female involved in something like this for once. Because it's always the dudes. And look, I'm not saying guys don't run shit like this, but at least it's nice to know there was a woman that got in trouble for this for a change. Finally, some equal opportunity in this motherfucker. In the mid-90s, Charlie publicly admits to his affection for sex workers and starts openly dating porn stars, including Heather Hunter and Ginger Lynn. I know these two.
Yeah, I heard of them.
You have?
They're the older ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of on their way out the door.
Pretty much.
They're not in high demand in the game.
No, they're not.
Yeah. That's usually when the porn stars start settling down, is when they realize they're not getting as many bookings. That's why if you're going to do porn, be smart with your money. Save it. Because eventually you're not going to have that level of success anymore. Hell, I know one porn star, I think her name was Harmony Rose, who actually took a sabbatical from porn and went to college. Become like an ambulance EMT person. Studying that. And I think it's because deep down she knew that she can't do porn forever. Now granted, with OnlyFans, you can. But this is a harsh reality. The older you get, the less lucrative you're going to be in porn. That's why you got to strike while the iron's hot, but you got to be smart with the money. Don't blow it. This is what you do, okay? You divide your money into thirds. This is what you do. And take a third of your money, you put in a savings account. Save it, don't fuck with it. That's your emergency/retirement money. That way you got money to retire on, but also in case shit hits the fan and you're broke. That's in case of emergency, break glass money. You don't fuck with it. Then, a third of your money goes into your checking account, and that pays your bills. your house, your car, your health insurance, all your necessities. The other third, you spend on whatever the fuck you want to spend. Buy your car, buy the jewelry, buy all the fancy shit. Splurge it on whatever the fuck you want. But once that runs out, though, you don't splurge till the next check, no matter how much it is. You have your splurging money, your bill paying money, and your savings. That's how you be smart with money like that. That way, when the porn career ends, you don't end up flat fucking broke. Now, if I had a son that was a child actor, I would divide the money that way. There's a savings account we ain't touching. There's a checking account that's going to go towards paying the bills. And then here's a third to go whatever buy you want. Toys, candy, video games. That's that money here.
Yep.
But once that money runs out...
You're fucked.
Yeah, we know touchy.
Oh, touchy.
Because I take a third to pay these bills. You know why I take a third to pay the bills?
Why?
Because I'm the one that's got to drive this kid around to all the auditions. I'm the one that's got to be there to supervise him. So in a way, having a child actor is kind of like having a job. Yep. But I'm not taking all the money. I'm just taking a third. Along with his fondness for call girls and porn actresses, he's also developing an appetite for hard drugs. Principally, cocaine. It was a predictable celebrity lifestyle. Rise to fame and then get into addictions that nearly bring you down. Happens to fucking almost everybody.
Yep, true.
That chapter begins with an incident in May of 1998 where he suffered a drug overdose and was rushed to the hospital where he was in critical condition. So he's damn near about to die. A near-fatal combination of cocaine and alcohol causes a stroke. Once Charlie physically recovers, he spends 6 months in rehab. So he suffers a stroke from the overdose, the hospital healing that up, and then he goes to rehab. He went through a 5-year calming period after that, where many great things happened, including meeting model-turned-actress Denise Richards.
Bravo.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, bravo.
While working on the film Good Advice. They're soon dating. You ever see Good Advice?
Nope.
Oh, I love this movie.
I've never seen it.
Okay, basically this is what the movie's about. Denise Richards basically plays a woman who works for a newspaper, but she gives like an advice column. It's like a Dear Abby column, but it's not a Dear Abby column.
Yeah, I got you.
It's Dear whatever Denise Richards' character's name is. But her advice is fucking awful because she's so superficial. But one day, I can't remember exactly what happens. I don't know if she gets let go temporarily or goes on vacation or what, but she disappears. Now, Charlie Sheen, his character he's a stockbroker. But he gets fired from his job, and his girlfriend leaves him. So now, she's out of the country. And basically, the boss is about to fire her, but Charlie makes up a story saying she's homesick, and I'll take the letters to her. So Charlie Sheen starts pretending to be his girlfriend, responding to these letters. Now, at first, he's giving guy-type answers to them, and things are going bad. But then eventually, Charlie Sheen's character starts becoming more sympathetic to these women who are reaching out to her, and he starts giving real advice. To the point where her boss is getting suspicious that all of a sudden she's posting all this nice shit. And he goes to the newspaper place periodically to turn in answers or get more mail and everything else and type all this up. And then eventually she finds out who it is and him and the boss end up falling for each other. And it's a good romantic movie. So it's actually really fun to see. And Charlie Sheen does some great acting in this. So I recommend Good Advice. It's a good movie. No pun intended. As Charlie works on maintaining a healthier lifestyle and rebuilding his career, Chuck Lorre, man who will help make Charlie TV's biggest star, before becoming Charlie's biggest nemesis, is starting his own complicated journey towards success. So now Chuck Lorre is dealing with some problems of his own. Chuck's first big break is joining the writer's room on the hit comedy Roseanne. He was a writer on Roseanne. That was his first big job before he became the big producer that we all know him to be today. Now, obviously, if you listen to the Darkside of Comedy episode that Goth Batty and I did on Roseanne, you'll hear more about the Roseanne show. His success on that show led to him getting his own series that he himself produced. Those include the sitcoms Grace Under Fire and Dharma and Greg. Seen any of these?
Yeah, I never watched Grace Under Fire, but of course I watched Dharma and Greg.
Yeah. Now, Grace Under Fire was the sitcom starring Brett Butler. So we'll talk more about that during Dark Side of Comedy with Brett Butler. But as far as Dharma and Greg, I loved Dharma and Greg.
Yeah, I did too.
That was a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah, mine too.
And what I loved about it was the fact that Dharma and Greg were so fucking different, but yet had such great chemistry. And here's the thing. It's also one of those rare series where I felt the first season was the best season. Because usually that's not the case with sitcoms. The first season's kind of okay, and then it gets better over time. Dharma and Greg, it had moments where it was good, but overall, it ended up decreasing a little bit.
I understand. Like,
I've always said, Dharma and Greg, I'm surprised that of all the sitcoms that have been rebooted or talked about getting rebooted, that one hasn't been rebooted yet.
Yeah, I understand.
It's literally the woke handbook. Because it got woke before woke was a thing.
Yeah.
And the difference is people laughed at it because we agreed that all that shit back then was fucking stupid.
Now?
It's the norm, and it's scary. So it got a little crazy towards the end, but overall, Dharma and Greg did great. Like, there's still some episodes I have to skip because I just can't sit through them.
Yeah.
But of course, like, the parents are hilarious. The dads are funnier than the moms, though. Like, Edward. Like, I love the fact that Edward just drinks scotch and doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. It was like, to let you know, those aren't plant-based material. Then what is it? Moo. I was like, oh, God. Hey, man, I had a bad trip, too. Just involved me wearing a uniform.
Whoa, man. Thanksgiving is a bogus plot by the multinational poultry farmers getting fat off the backs of the working turkeys.
What is going to cost you $50,000? You can probably put that as a write-up now, can't you?
Dad, didn't you tell me to challenge authority? I didn't mean me. I meant Nixon. It's just a great fucking show.
It is.
I binge watched it over and over again on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
I recently just finished the whole thing again. I may go back and watch it a second time, but just it was such a great show.
It was a very good show.
I loved Dharma and Greg, man. If you haven't seen that show, please binge watch it.
Binge watch it.
It's great. Chuck is demanding and very specific about what he wants. And when he writes a script, every word on that script is there for a reason. Oh my God, we're kindred spirits. Because I know I'm very specific about what I want.
Oh, really?
I'm very much a detail freak.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, like when you need to shoot the crowd. So anyway.
Ah.
But like Charlie, Chuck Lorre is contending with demons in his personal life. After decades of problem drinking, he joins Alcoholics Anonymous. So he goes to AA. Both Chuck and Charlie soon reap the rewards of their sobriety. For Chuck, it's the success of Dharma and Greg. For Charlie, it's getting hired to replace Michael J. Fox on the sitcom Spin City. And as we all know, Fox quit the show to focus on his battle with Parkinson's. Playing the type, Charlie's character on Spin City is a boozing womanizer.
Wow.
That's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a big stretch, isn't it?
Gee, how much prep work, Charlie, did you have to do for that?
That's basically last week. Hey, Zach, playing a drunken asshole, I was like, that's easy.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been playing for this role? Since the 90s? I think it was the 90s.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because that's how long he's been drinking and drugging. Although, granted, he's clean at this point.
Yeah, he is.
And that's a good, important timeline here. He was druggy, then he got clean, and then we'll get to the rest. It's Charlie's first role on a TV show. At first, he wasn't sure how to handle a live audience, and eventually he mastered it and won a Golden Globe. So he got a Golden Globe for Spin City, and eventually mastered the art of TV. Because you do realize it's a different avenue than film. Because when you're filming a TV show, things are structured a certain way, especially on a sitcom. You're looking for laughs and everything else. But also, there's a live studio audience. Now, some sitcoms don't have a live studio audience. They have, like, the laugh track put in.
Yeah.
But in some cases, there are a live audience. And you have to play to that live audience, as well as watching at home. He was on the show from 2000 to 2002, and then a year later, he got 2.5 Men. It's through 2.5 Men that Charlie Sheen and Chuck Lorre become forever linked. Charlie plays a single bachelor who's living the high life in Malibu with his recently divorced and neurotic brother. It was as edgy as a sitcom could be, and there were jokes that you couldn't get away with on other networks.
That's very, very true.
So this is very much an adult sitcom.
Yes, it is.
This was not for kids.
No, it wasn't.
And they're dancing over the line very much in the show. From the stuff they're showing. The naked girls and sheets over them and laying in bed and all the jokes. Chuck Lorre's provocative writing and Charlie Sheen's pitch-perfect performance combine to make a sitcom audiences adore. But soon, the forces that brought the two men together will rip them apart, producing a reality show that no one can forget. Now, it's not really much of a reality show. This is very much a fight we're about to see. From the start, 2.5 Men is both a critical and rating success. Its Monday night audience tops 15 million viewers, despite competing against one of network TV's most successful shows, Monday Night Football. The show was meticulously written. The dirty jokes were actually funny, dirty jokes. And that's the key thing. It's dirty jokes done right. That's what people don't understand. You can do vulgar, dirty humor, but it's got to be funny. That's why I've always said, a joke can be funny or offensive. It depends on who's telling the joke. In the hands of a professional, anything can be funny. Just about. Anything can be funny. And also, Monday Night Football is very hard to compete against. Mm-hmm. Even WWE and WCW knew how hard it was to compete with Monday Night Football.
It's NFL. Good luck.
During the football season, Nitro Raw ratings, they weren't like extremely low, but they weren't as high as they normally were because of Monday Night Football. Because most Americans, if they have a choice, between wrestling or football, they're going to pick football. Just the way it is.
Yes.
It's America.
Fuck yeah.
From his 2 seasons on Spin City, Charlie has mastered the tricks of performing in front of a studio audience. There were 200 people in the audience, and the laughs came from those people. Like, there was no laugh track. That was them laughing at how damn good Charlie Sheen was. While Charlie Sheen plays the hard-drinking, womanizing bachelor Charlie Harper, again, what a stretch.
What a stretch. Ironic, too.
John Cryer plays his brother, an uptight divorced father of 1, the so-called half in 2.5 Men. And of course, that's the kid. He's the half. Charlie and John had incredible chemistry together, along with child actor Angus T. Jones. So he's the half in the 2.5 Men. It's the strong female that helps win over audiences, including Melanie Linsky as Charlie's stalker, Holland Taylor as his mom, and Kelly Stables as Melissa, Alan's assistant, who briefly hooks up with Charlie, but then after they split, she ends up falling for Alan. So she hooks up with Charlie for a bit, realizes that's not going to go anywhere, and then her and Alan develop a relationship. And they stay together, I think, for the whole series.
I don't think so.
But the true genius of the show's casting is that Chuck Lorre has written the Charlie Harper character as a thinly veiled version of the real-life Charlie Sheen. So that's how Chuck Lorre designed the character to, all right, we're going to take Charlie's actual persona with the volume turned up, like most wrestling gimmicks, with the dial turned up to like 11. So basically, the person that Charlie used to be, and he's not much anymore, but can still tap into that for stimuli in acting. But for the first few seasons, Charlie Sheen the man stands to be moving away from the role he plays on TV. In the spring of 2004, he and his wife Denise have a daughter named Sam Sheen. And on set, Charlie's nothing but a gentleman. He says hi to everyone, including the crew members, and makes everyone feel good and welcomed, including his boss, Chuck Lorre. That's how you conduct yourself on a goddamn set. This is why I respect Charlie Sheen. He's polite to everybody. He's professional. He knows that it takes a team to build this show and make it successful. The other actors, the crew members who do all the labor and legwork. Because when you're acting, you're just in there acting. You just got to know your lines, hit your marks, and deliver. Crew members are the ones setting shit up. They got to be there at the ass crack of dawn. And they're tearing everything down till the wee hours of the night. The actors are just there to film. Once the filming's done, all right, we're out of here. See you guys. We're going to go party. We're going to go drink. We're going to go do whatever. Hopefully you're doing it responsibly so you show up to work again tomorrow.
Yep, very, very true.
But the crew members are going to be there tearing all this shit down.
Yep.
They're doing the legwork. And, of course, respect to the boss who hired you and paid you money and treats you right. Charlie Sheen's life and career was skyrocketing, and Chuck was making moves of his own. Now married to former Playboy playmate Karen Witter, Chuck starts developing a brand new sitcom called The Big Bang Theory.
Bazinga!
Bazinga.
Bazinga!
Bazinga.
Bazinga!
Zach, you're sitting at my spot.
Are you sitting in it now?
But it's my spot.
Or you're not sitting in it?
But it's my spot.
I don't care. Have your own spot. You're good right there.
But it's my spot.
I'm already sitting here.
Big Bang Theory, you've heard us talk about this show if you listen to the podcast. But yeah, this is another one of those sitcoms where, as we were talking about before, I was late to the party on this one.
Finally took you long.
Yes, it did. It was one of those sitcoms where at first I didn't like it because it didn't appeal to me. Because here's the thing. At the time when Big Bang Theory was popular, I wasn't into nerd shit. I just wasn't. I wasn't into nerdy stuff. I couldn't relate to any of the jokes. It was during a phase where I thought Dungeons and Dragons was fucking stupid. Then as I got older and I started playing it with Desmond and everybody, next thing I know I became a fan. So now, at this age, I can enjoy a show like Big Bang Theory to the point where I binge watched it from beginning to end fucking 2-3 times. And it's one of the few shows I've binge watched from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And it's a damn good show. And Leonard, I was one of my favorites. I liked Raj.
Yeah.
Howard, I liked. I'm still fascinated that I have all the characters. Howard was the first one to get married and have kids.
Yeah, I know.
When he was the biggest pervert of all of them. I still hate the fact that Raj never found anybody.
Yeah,
I hate that him and Anu didn't get together. They should have. That was some bullshit. That was the only thing with the Big Bang Theory I hated. No, there's 2 things I hated. I hated Raj never found anybody, and my least favorite character was Bernadette. I did not like Bernadette.
Why not?
Because just the fact that she was like this bossy bitch and treated Howard like crap a lot of the time, I didn't like that. Like, for example, like there was a moment where Howard bought something on eBay and Bernadette goes, without asking me, that triggered me. I'll be honest, it did. I hate that shit. I don't believe that you should have to ask permission to buy something. And the reason I don't like that is because I know women don't do the same thing the other way around. Women will buy whatever the fuck they want and not say shit to their husbands or their boyfriends. But if you buy something without asking them, they get pissed and try to talk about how we're supposed to be a team, we're supposed to make decisions together. Basically what they're saying is, I can do whatever I want and you can't. And that's horseshit. If I need your permission to buy something, you need my permission to buy something. I don't like watching any show where the guy gets treated like shit and the wife just walked all over them. I can't enjoy that dynamic.
My least favorite character would have to be Beverly Leonard's mother.
She was just weird.
Yeah. Bernadette did bug me because I like the sound of her voice.
The only thing I liked about Bernadette, though, was when she was a Russian cosmonaut during the role playing with Howard. Her Russian accent was sexy. It was funny. My parents and I were talking about the Big Bang Theory yesterday. My dad's a huge fan of Sheldon.
I'm surprised your dad would want to kill Sheldon.
Well, here's the thing. My dad has one thing in common with Sheldon.
What's that?
The whole, you're sitting in my chair, you're sitting in my spot. The butt prints thing. My father is exactly like that. If you sit in his chair, he'll murder you. He's got that chair. You don't fucking sit in it under any circumstances. The one thing he wouldn't like about Sheldon is the fact that he prefers doing homework over watching football. But he knows so much about football. My dad would make me watch with him before I was allowed to do my homework. The Dolphins won the game, and then I was allowed to do my calculus. So these two sitcoms, Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men, make Chuck Lorre one of the most lucrative showrunners out there. Out of all the shows that he's done, these are the two most successful ones. Yeah. And of course, another one is the sitcom Mom. I'm on the last episode of that one.
I hear you on that.
I've been binge watching that again. So I'm on the last episode. That one was good.
Yeah,
with Anna Faris and everybody else.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Jamie Presley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will Sasso makes a cameo eventually as Andy. And then the guy who plays Adam, we can never remember the actor's name, but we've seen him in so many damn good movies.
I've seen him in so many movies. He's actually a really good actor.
As for Charlie, his marriage will not end happily ever after. Instead, Denise Richards files for divorce before their 5th anniversary, alleging that Charlie is violent, addicted to gambling and prostitutes, and that he's assaulted her and threatened her life. Charlie responds by calling her allegations baseless, vile, and without merit. Good. This is he said, she said, basically. So, we don't know what's true and what isn't. Do we know? I don't fucking know. I wasn't there. I don't have enough info.
I wasn't there either.
But, I will say this. The addicted to prostitutes part is the one that I can believe. The gambling, I don't know. I've never seen him have a history of having a gambling problem. But we do know he has a history with prostitutes. But as far as assaulting her and threatening her life, did it happen recently? If it happened over a period of time, what made you finally decide to break up and leave? Why were there no phone calls made before?
That's true.
So either this is recent that this violent stuff happened, or there's a lie being told. Now again, that's the way it looks. I don't know the truth. We don't know the truth. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just telling you how it looks from my perspective. That's all I can give, is my perspective. During a messy custody battle for their children, Charlie returns to his playboy lifestyle of drugs and women. While his divorce is pending, Charlie starts dating troubled B-list actress Brooke Mueller. Before meeting Charlie, Brooke was arrested in 1996 for a DUI in Florida, and then again in 2001 for cocaine possession. Now, at this point, Charlie is now relapsing, going back to the drugs and the alcohol. And here's the thing. At least in this case, I can see why. I'm not endorsing the behavior, but I understand. Because obviously, Charlie Sheen, I'm going to assume, he loved his wife. He loves his family. He was sober for a good long time. When you go through a divorce, it fucks with you. When it comes to getting married, that's the thing I fear the most, is getting divorced. I'm more scared of getting divorced than I am getting married. I really am. If I didn't have to worry about losing half my shit or going through a custody battle, I would take the risk of getting married. If it meant that if there was a divorce, it was clean and done. You take your shit and go that way, I take my shit and go that way. Like, the only thing we would have to divide, in my opinion, would be a house and children. That's the only thing that should be up for grabs in a divorce. My car is my car. Your car is your car. Anything I bought with my money belonged to me. You don't get to take my baseball collection. I don't have one, but I'm just saying. People will take shit just to hurt the other person. That's horse shit. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. We figure out the house, we figure out the kids. Everything else, yours and mine. And how we work it out is simple. Child, joint custody. That should be a given. Nobody should be having sole custody unless one of us is a drunk and abusive and all that. And I know it ain't gonna be me. I ain't gonna be the drunk, I ain't gonna be the drug addict, and I ain't gonna be the abusive one. I'll tell you right now, that ain't gonna be a problem. Nope. I see no reason why, okay, you get this kid for X amount of time, I get this kid for X amount of time, or whatever. If there's a primary parent they live with, depends on what's going on. Like, if I travel a lot for work, naturally, I'm gonna stay with the wife, and then when I come home, during the time when I'm home, boom, I get my kid, that's it. I get to spend some time and then bring him back. Should be that simple. And if there's a house, okay, we sell the house and split the money right down the middle. Let's say we sell the house and it sells for 200 grand. You get 100 grand, I get 100 grand, adios.
Peace out.
That's how that shit should work. Unfortunately, it don't. It becomes an unnecessary fucking battle that I don't want to go through. So I can understand him going back to drugs and drinking and girls. Especially if he doesn't have his kids.
True.
So if I can't see my kids and I ain't got my wife no more, you're going to ask yourself, what the fuck am I staying sober for?
That's true.
That's a question people are going to seriously ask themselves. What the fuck am I staying sober for? I'll bet you anything, that's what was motivating him to stay sober. Not just the job, but the wife and the family. That's usually the motivating factor for people to have the wake-up call to get sober. That you might lose your family if you don't. He was sober and lost the family. So it's like, fuck it, might as well go back to the cocaine. And it also doesn't help that you're dating this girl that obviously has a drug problem. So that's just going to enable the fucking thing. Some say it was a messy relationship, and dating her is what caused Charlie to relapse. Still in May 2008, Brooke and Charlie marry, and their twin sons are born a year later. But drug-fueled nights of partying are starting to define their relationship. They're a match made in hell. That hell breaks loose over Christmas in 2009. After several years of sobriety, Charlie drives off the cliff, metaphorically. And his second wife, Brooke Mueller, is there riding shotgun, metaphorically, on his rapid descent. Before meeting Charlie, Brooke had already been to rehab multiple times. They were partiers who had the funds to have fun. Again, that's the key. They got the money to do this shit. But the fun ends on Christmas Day 2009 when the couple is vacationing in Aspen. Brooke calls the police saying that Charlie threatened her at knife point. Tells the police her first name and her husband's first and last name. I got a problem with that.
Somebody famous like, you need to get over it now. I was like, okay. Especially if it's like, don't make me tase you. Especially if you get to tase somebody who you don't like and they're acting well. It's like, you suck. Bzzz.
Yeah.
I go, flipped on like a sack of flour. Oh, trust me, if you can tase somebody you don't like, you would in a heartbeat.
Yes, but here's where I have a problem. And this is where a story gets sketchy to me. What's your name? Brooke. And what's your husband's name? Charlie Sheen. Why you gotta say Charlie Sheen? Can't just say Charlie?
Not in the Charlie Factory.
Why did you feel compelled to mention his last name? You didn't mention yours.
We did not.
What is your name? You didn't say Brooke Sheen, did you? Or Brooke Estevez, depending on which last name you took. The gimmick name or the shoot name? Why do you have to say his last name? Cop didn't ask for the last name. Now you said Charlie, you said, what's the last name? And you said Sheen. Okay. But it's like, my name is Brooke. What's your husband's name? Charlie Sheen. You trying to get attention. That's a red flag to me. Now I don't know what's going on in that house. But you're looking to bring somebody down. You got an agenda. That's what that tells me. This bitch got an agenda. According to Mueller's affidavit, Charlie held a penknife to her throat after she told him she's going to divorce him. Although Mueller later tries to recant her statement, Charlie spends that Christmas in jail. Months later, Charlie would plead guilty to misdemeanor assault and the couple would eventually divorce. Oh, so she tried to recant her statement.
Yeah.
He thinks you over-dramatized.
Over-dramatized.
Now, Charlie did plead guilty to misdemeanor assault.
Proves to the Hollywood world that you need to go get help.
Well, it also shows that there might have been assault taking place, but it might not have been as bad as she's pointing it out to be. She may or may not have over-dramatized what happened. For him, that night changed his whole world, including how he felt about his role on 2.5 Men. He felt stuck in the character and wanted to expand it. But for the casting crew whose ability to pay their bills depends on the series, the show must go on. So now this is where Charlie is no longer happy about 2.5 Men. And I think it's because he doesn't want to play the boozing womanizer anymore. I think he wants to get away from that character, but they don't want him to because that's what's making the money. That's what the fans want to see. They don't want to see a humanized Charlie Sheen. In a lot of cases, some people don't. And that's why most people, especially entertainers, are afraid to get off the drugs and alcohol. They're worried they won't be as good sober.
That's not necessarily true.
Despite Charlie's on-set ambivalence and off-camera antics, in 2010, Chuck Lorre and the producers of 2.5 Men actually give him a pay bump while insisting he seek help with his addictions. So now, they see that Charlie has a problem, but Chuck's willing to help him out. Like, hey, dude, we're going to give you a bump in pay because we believe in you, and we understand you're going through some shit. That's why people have sympathy for Charlie Sheen going through this situation. It's not like before where people were just partying for the sake of partying. Charlie, you gotta understand, he had a good hot streak where he was sober. He relapsed after his divorce. That would fuck anyone up. Like, things like divorce or like a death in the family, like a relative that you're close to, or when something traumatic happens to you and it causes a relapse, obviously people aren't happy that you relapsed, but they get it. They're sympathetic. We understand that you were doing so well and then this happened to you to trigger this. Now we got to get you back on track and hopefully find a way to make sure you don't do this again if something tragic hits you.
Very true.
That's why they're willing to help Charlie Sheen out. Not because he's a man, it's because he's going through some serious fucking shit. Now making $1.8 million an episode. Charlie is the highest paid television actor in history. And that means he made $0.8 million more than the cast of Friends on their final season. But his demons only got worse. He ended up in the hospital for trashing a suite at the Plaza Hotel. Staying at the hotel with him is yet another porn actress, Capri Anderson, who claims Charlie wrecked the room after trying to strangle her. He then throws a lamp across the room and smashes it. So now Charlie's spiraling out of control. Police saw that he was incoherent, naked, and appeared to be highly intoxicated, as well as unable to communicate in a rational manner. They can tell that Charlie Sheen is like off his rocker. It's at the hotel.
I have never been that drunk before.
You're a fucking liar.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Liar.
Name one time.
All out at Elvis's house and fucking all those years at Hooters.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You fucking liar. In an ABC News interview a few months later, Charlie denies what Anderson says happened at the hotel. He says if all that was true, he would have gone to jail. Which I guess would make some sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, he would go to jail if he did all that shit. The hotel room might have been trashed. But he said, if I assaulted this girl, I would have gone to jail. So obviously, this didn't happen. And I believe that. Clearly, he's incoherent and intoxicated. Something was wrong with him.
Yep.
But I don't think he tried to strangle Capri. After the incident at the plaza, Charlie loses all interest in his high-paying job at 2.5 Men. Again, fucking people. Making $1.8 million a fucking episode. How are you not going to work with a goddamn smile on your face? By season 8, he was no-showing a lot of rehearsals and table reads.
Sounds familiar.
His off-screen exploits are likewise troubling Chuck Lorre, who is also dealing with the emotional fallout from the recent end of his marriage to Karen Witter. He starts pressuring Charlie to join him at AA. Okay, now, just like with good old Lindsay, Charlie no longer has my sympathy.
Nope, mine either. $0.8 million for a fucking episode and you want to act like a fucking buffoon? Fuck you.
Even if you act like a buffoon, that's not even that. Again, this is where it goes back to the professionalism. I don't give a fuck what Charlie does in his personal life. I don't care if he trashes the hotel room. I don't care if he tells somebody to fuck off. I don't care if he's stumbling out of bars half drunk. I don't have to go to bed with it and I don't have to live with it. But when you are being unprofessional on the job, no showing rehearsals, no showing table reads, acting like you don't give a shit about a job that pays you more money than any job you've ever fucking had in your life or in the business. Again, working class people don't feel sorry for this. Because, again, no one's paying us $1.8 million to do shit. I wish to God they would. And I know if I had that $1.8 million, I'd be showing up to every table. Again, it didn't matter how drunk I was. It didn't matter how high I was. It didn't matter how hungover I was. It didn't even matter if I was sick. I still go to work. Unless I physically can't get out of the fucking bed. Because that's how men are taught. That's why the whole COVID thing was confusing for real men. I say real men. Because real men were taught, if you can get out of bed, you can go to work. That was what we were taught. You get your ass up, you go to the job, and you do your job. You don't go home unless the boss sends you home. Now, if you get to work and you're so sick, the boss tells you to go home, and even then you're going to fight a little bit, but the boss tells you, no, you need to go home, you're sick, you'll eventually cave in, go home, and be sick.
Go home.
But unless we got like a high fever and we can't get out of bed, we ain't calling out sick. We just don't. Men just don't do that. We go to work sick. We go to work tired. We go to work with everything. Why? Because we need to work to make money. The day we don't work is a day we don't get paid. And it affects our fucking checks.
True.
Then you got a guy like Charlie Sheen who's making $1.8 million and like, I don't care about this fucking job. Well, fuck you then.
Fuck you.
Go work in retail. Go wash some fucking dishes. Tell me if you change your mind.
Change your mind here real quick now, won't ya?
And then, of course, you got Chuck bothering him to go to AA, which obviously nothing wrong with AA. Obviously it works for some people. I know some friends that have gone to AA and it's bettered their lives. But Chuck Lorre's problem was he was a little self-righteous about the AA. Because there are some people who go to AA and are arrogant pricks about it. Or people who are sober that are arrogant pricks about it. Like, I use CM Punk as an example. When he would do the whole straight edge thing. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. He would say, I'm straight edge, which means I'm better than you. And some sober people have that mentality. Like, you need drugs and alcohol, I don't, so I'm better than you. Or, I eat vegan, so I'm better than you. Or, I do yoga and I work out and I exercise, so I'm better than you. Those cocksuckers are annoying. Now again, I don't care if you're vegan. Just don't be a dick about it. I don't care if you exercise. Don't be a dick about it. If you go to AA and it helps you, great. Don't be a dick about it. I even say this. If you believe in God, that's great too. Don't be a dick about it. And I think that was Chuck Lorre's problem. He was being kind of a dick about it. And also, what I'm about to say right now ties into something else. It bothered him because he was hitting his marks, he knew his lines, and the show was a hit. So what he does on his own time is his business. And that is hard to argue with. And that's why Charlie's resisting. Like he said, I'm hitting my marks, I know my lines, I'm delivering, and the show's successful. So why the fuck do you care what I do on my personal time? By January of 2011, ignoring the admonitions of the show's producers, Charlie continues his hard partying. He's now living with his two girlfriends he calls the goddesses. Boy, were they goddesses. But on January 28th, for the second time in his life, he's rushed to the hospital for an alleged drug overdose. Chuck Lorre and the other executives overseeing 2.5 Men decide to act. They shut down the show. Once again, the partying is now causing work problems. This is where, again, now Chuck Lorre has a right to intervene. Because now they have to shut production down, which again, it hurts the workers, it hurts the crew, it hurts the cast, it hurts everybody involved. Because we don't have our star. And that's the burden of being the star of the show. It's like that old saying from The Lion King. There's more to being king than getting your way all the time. You also have leadership. It's responsibility. Things rest on your shoulders. The success or failure of the show rests on you if you're the star. If the show is successful, you get the credit. If the show is a failure, you get the blame. It might not be completely your fault, but a good chunk of the blame is going to you if you're the top star. That's the responsibility that comes with that. And if you don't want that responsibility, don't be the star. Co-host. Be a supporting actor. See? He don't get to shoulder a lot of Boochcast burden responsibility. Who does it fall on? Me. Because I'm the Booch. I'm the leader of the band. There's a responsibility that comes with that. And I'm able to live up to the responsibility. It's no longer just about Charlie's well-being. His actions are putting at risk the livelihoods of the entire cast and crew, as I mentioned before. Plus the advertising and syndication deals that are driving CBS and Warner Brothers' profits. Now you're fucking with money. This is where we have a problem now. Once you start fucking with money, you now become a problem. And you can't get away with shit you normally get away with. The problem is there is no morality clause in Charlie's $1.8 million per episode contract. Meaning he can do whatever he wants in his private life. So from Charlie's perspective, the shutdown is a breach of contract by Chuck Lorre and CBS. Now I'm going to say this. He is right. There is no morality clause in this contract. But I can bet you one thing. Going forward, anytime Chuck Lorre is involved in a sitcom or a TV deal or whatever, he's putting morality clauses in his fucking contracts now. I'll tell you right now, if I was Chuck Lorre, as soon as Charlie Sheen said those words, morality clauses in every contract going forward. In fact, when they renew their contracts, I'm adding the morality clause. I'll tell you right now, all morality clauses in every contract now. If I have to put that in there to protect my show, then by God, that's what the fuck I'm gonna do. During this time, he starts calling into radio shows, especially the one he puts into the now disgraced conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. What Charlie says to Jones about 2.5 Men creator Chuck Lorre is the first shot in what would become one of television's ugliest feuds. This is what he says. I spent close to the last decade effortlessly and magically converting your tin cans into pure gold. And the gratitude I get is this charlatan, clearly someone who believes he is above the law. Well, you've been warned, dude. Bring it. In January 2010, cast and crew of 2.5 Men go on hiatus until Charlie can get clean and sober. The show's creator Chuck Lorre finds a unique way to vent his frustrations with Charlie by using vanity cards. Zach, You know what a vanity card is?
No.
Well, if you've ever watched any of Chuck Lorre's shows, you've seen these at the end, especially on Dharma and Greg. You know, at the end, there's a thing called Chuck Lorre and there's a number of things.
Yeah.
Those are the vanity cards.
Okay.
Now, vanity cards briefly pop up at the end of an episode with the production's company name, just to kind of show people, hey, here's the company that made this show. But Chuck uses them to send messages. If viewers pause the show, they can read Chuck's thoughts on Charlie's off-screen behavior. And I happen to have a couple of them written down. Here's the first one. Chuck Lorre Productions, number 491B. I know a lot of you might be disappointed that you didn't get to see Charlie Sheen in tonight's finale. For the record, he was offered a role. Our idea was to have him walk up to the front door in the last scene, ring the doorbell, then turn, look directly in the camera, and go off on a maniacal rant about the dangers of drug abuse. He would then explain that these dangers only applied to average people, that he was far from average. He was a ninja warrior from Mars. He was invincible. And then we would drop a piano on him. We thought it was funny. He didn't. Instead, he wanted us to write a heartwarming message that would set up his return to primetime TV in a new sitcom called The Harpers, starring him and John Cryer. We thought that was funny too. Really? You wanted to drop a piano on him and do this invincible crap? I don't think... Do you think that was funny? I don't think it would be.
I don't think so.
This is kind of stupid. Alright. Chuck Lorre Productions, number 327. I'm writing this vanity card from Israel. I like it here. Not for the geography or architecture or even the history. No. I like it because for the first time in my life, I'm surrounded with DNA much like my own. Until I got here, until I wandered around Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, I didn't realize how much my double helix yearned to be around similar strands. Now, that's not to say that I don't occasionally have that very same genetic experience in Beverly Hills, particularly in Chinese restaurants on Sunday night. But the sheer homogeneity of Israel overwhelms any overpriced Kung Pao gathering at Mr. Chow's. The cop, the cab driver, the hotel, the concierge, the pilot, the waiter, the shoe salesman, the beautiful girl fit through me as if I didn't exist at all. If I had to sum it up, I'd say the sensation is like being at a B'nai B'rith summer camp, whatever the fuck that is. That is surrounded by millions of crazy bastards who hate the sound of kids playing tetherball, and all the poor little camp has going for it is pluckiness and newts. Anyway, I have to believe my visceral and very pleasant reaction is some sort of evolutionary tribal thing. That explains the visceral thing earlier in the rant. Some sort of survival gene that makes human beings want to stay with their birth group. Which raises the question, why have I spent a lifetime moving away from that group? How did Chaim become Chuck? How did Levine become Lore? The only answer I could come up with is this. When I was a little boy in Hebrew school, the rabbis regularly told us that we were the chosen people, that we were God's favorites, which is all well and good except that I went home, observed my family, and despite my tender age, thought to myself, bullshit. Okay, does that make sense to anybody here?
No.
Kind of rant. What the fuck?
What kind of rant was that?
Okay.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, we got one more here.
Okay.
Chuck Lorre Productions, number 329. I exercise regularly. I eat moderate amounts of healthy food. I make sure to get plenty of rest. I see my doctor once a year and my dentist twice a year. I floss every night. I've had chest x-rays, cardio stress tests, EKGs, and colonoscopies. I see a psychologist and have a variety of hobbies to reduce stress. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't have crazy, reckless sex with strangers. If Charlie Sheen outlives me, I'm gonna be really pissed. Really?
Really?
I'm sorry. He kind of sounds like a douche.
If you died before me, wouldn't you be pissed?
If I died before you, how would I be pissed? I'm dead.
Your spirit would be that. I'm like, and I can see now you with a pair of little angel wings. Like, how the fuck am I dead and you're not? I go, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not exactly healthy either. I just don't drink large amounts of alcohol. I smoke. I don't eat healthy.
Because all the healthy food tastes like shit.
It does. And it's also expensive.
Yeah.
Without vanity cards of his own, Charlie calls into Alex Jones' radio show to strike back at Lorre. He says, I'm not fair game. I'm not a soft target. It's over. If I bring up these turds, these losers, there's no reason to bring them back into the fold because I have real fame. They have nothing. Look what I'm dealing with, man. Fools and trolls. This is basically him fighting back at Chuck Lorre for all the shit that he's posting in the vanity cards. Which, I hate to bring it to you, Chuck, you poked the bear.
Yeah.
And the bear's about to rip your face off.
Pretty much.
People waited to see what he was going to say next, but Charlie's bosses have heard enough. After Charlie rants on Alex Jones, CBS fires him and cancels shooting 2.5 Men for the rest of the season. So now, Charlie Sheen, gone. And once again, he became a risk to the network. Network decided to stop fucking with him because now he's basically shitting on everybody that works with him.
Yep, basically.
And giving that arrogant-like attitude, which, once again, once you start fucking with business, you're out. He shows up all over the tabloids and the media and has an infamous interview on 2020. Interviewed by ABC correspondent Andrea Canning, Charlie addresses being fired from 2.5 Men, but the segment mostly focuses on his private life with the goddesses. Rather than silencing his critics, the interview makes Charlie seem even more unhinged. I have one speed, go. When asked how did he survive that, he said, I got tiger blood, man. Tiger blood, Adonis DNA. He would say, I was born dead. I have a 10,000-year-old brain. I'm a high priest, a Vatican assassin, warlock. Now this is where all the warlock and the winning and all this crazy shit comes into play. It was beautiful in its own freaky sort of way and irresistible to shows like SNL. We're now parodying Charlie Sheen and making fun of him.
Yeah.
Perhaps most shocking is his claim to be completely sober, which gets confirmed when he passes a drug test conducted by the producers of 2020. He stopped using after getting fired from 2.5 Men. But he passed. He passed the drug test.
He passed the drug test.
So if he passed, you can't really get mad at him.
No, you can't.
They gave him a drug test. He passed the drug test. But after getting fired from 2.5 Men, he stopped using drugs. So maybe it took losing the show to make him realize he had to change. I don't know what it is. But clearly, he said he wasn't happy at his job, but now he's getting sober. So if that was what it took to get him sober, then I guess him leaving 2.5 Men was a good thing. Because sometimes you do have to get out of a toxic environment. And that was apparently a toxic environment. It's during this time that Charlie Sheen starts using the phrase winning in almost every interview he gives. That March, Charlie launches a live broadcast using a new video sharing platform called Ustream. The show was called Sheen's Corner, spelled Korner. Back then it was considered weird. Today it's the norm. So now almost everybody does live streaming and video shows. Hell, we do live streaming and video shows. You're watching one right now. Back then, it was not common for people to do this shit. There was no Facebook Live. There was no Instagram Live. I don't even know if there was an Instagram period. YouTube didn't do live streaming. Now, Ustream was a very old platform to stream on. In fact, back in the day, the regular guys used Ustream. We had cameras, web cameras, in the studio. And we would have people that would watch on Ustream while also listening on the radio. Now, the Ustream was for people who were regular guys fans that didn't live in Atlanta. So it was like, hey, we got this Ustream platform so people can see what's in the studio, join us in the chat room, which certain individual who I fucking hate with a passion was running. Then we would also have the radio show where you go to Rock 100.5 and listen in the morning. So we had the people in the cars that would listen on the radio, and we had the Ustream people that would listen that either weren't in their cars or lived in another state or lived somewhere where you didn't get that radio reception. If you had internet, see us. When not winning or claiming to have tiger blood, Charlie's content is mostly focused on Chuck Lorre. Along with criticizing Chuck Lorre's writing, Charlie mocks Chuck's participation in Alcoholics Anonymous. Which, look, I get it to a degree. I said it before, I'll say it again. Some people who go to AA can be a bit pretentious. But there are some people who have used AA to change their lives for the better. And those people don't deserve to get shit on. If you're one of those people that uses Alcoholics Anonymous to make yourself a better person, and you're a good person overall because of it, I salute you. Same thing with religion. There are some people who use religion to better their lives and be better people. They don't deserve to get shit on. Nope. It's the people who use those things for evil that should be shitted on. Like, if you use religion as an excuse to be an asshole, then you deserve to be condemned. If you go to AA, but you have a pompous, arrogant attitude about it, then you deserve to get criticized. You can use these things to better yourself, but don't use them to be a pretentious cocksucker. People thought he was having a mental breakdown, but even while the media questions his sanity, Charlie takes his show on the road. He called the Violent Torpedo of Truth. Defeat is not an option tour. And I remember he actually came to Atlanta, Fox Theater, with that show. I know because I think it was Larry and Southside Steve who went to the Fox Theater. It was either one of them or both of them. I think if it was either Larry and Steve or it was just Steve. I can't remember who went. And then I heard it was not good. And we're going to get into that in a moment. But Charlie soon discovers that live audiences can be fickle. Trust me, we're wrestling fans. We know they can be fickle. Some people found it boring while others were entertained. There was no in between. People either loved him or hated him. There were some people that would cheer at his shows, and some people would boo him out of the building. Like I said, the Atlanta show did not go well. People are wondering if he really is nuts, or if he's just playing people. If he's just playing people, in September 2011, he changes his tune. Charlie abandons his Violent Torpedo of Truth shows to begin what can only be described as a redemption tour. So now he's basically trying to redeem himself for his past behavior, which most celebs do after the fall from grace. He's on stage as a presenter at TV's biggest event, the Emmys, which is airing the night before 2.5 Men relaunches on CBS with his replacement Ashton Kutcher. So Ashton is now joining the cast. So he walks out there and he wishes the cast well in their upcoming season. So he basically gives a humble speech. And like everyone thought when he said, you want to talk about 2.5 Men? Everybody went, oh fuck, what the fuck's he going to do? What the fuck's he going to say? Like everybody's getting scared. The next night, exactly 1 hour after Ashton Kutcher's 2.5 Men debut, Charlie is the guest of honor for a Comedy Central roast. And there's quite a few jokes that are told. William Shatner says, prostitutes cost a lot of money, Charlie Sheen. Has anyone ever told you that actresses will sleep with you for free? Which they would. But again, some people want the discreet. Some people want the secret. Some people don't want, shit to get blabbed out. And then, of course, there's a lot of them. I remember Anthony Jeselnik had the most brutal joke of the night.
What?
He said, Charlie, I don't even know why we're even talking about you. The only reason you got on TV in the first place is because God hates Michael J. Fox.
Ooh.
That was brutal. A lot of these guys are just coming at him. And Charlie Sheen was the most tasteful of all of them. So everybody else is being brutal, being edgy, and attacking, and saying inappropriate shit. And Charlie's just up there being Charlie. He's up there being humble. He throws a couple jokes, does a couple fun things, but overall he's being a very humble man. And they're going off on everybody. Although Mike Tyson had a pretty good joke, but it wasn't towards Charlie Sheen. He made fun of Jeff Ross. He said, dude, your voice is so horrible, I wish I could have bit my own ears off. And because Jeff Ross had said it earlier, he goes, friends, comedians, Americans, lend Mike Tyson your ears. He's like, Charlie, if you're winning, something's wrong with the fucking scoreboard. He says, if you're winning, this is definitely not a child custody battle. But then Charlie Sheen gets on stage. Here's what he said. I did porn stars. I did drugs. I had my own television show. Then I did the one thing that everyone in America really wishes they could do. I told my boss to fuck off.
Yeah.
And the crowd cheered for that. Now, he didn't give the finger. I just gave the finger. He's like, I told my boss to fuck off. Which is true.
Yeah.
Again, like, I'll go back to wrestling. That's why Stone Cold was great, because he was fucking with Vince McMahon. Everybody wants to tell their boss to go fuck themselves. Unless you have a good relationship with your boss. Like, at my last job, I had a great relationship with my boss. But when I worked in retail, there was plenty I wanted to tell to fuck off.
Oh, there's plenty I want to tell, but I can't do that.
2 of them I did. But it was as I was walking out the door anyway. So it wasn't like I was saying fuck you and then coming back in the next day. It was fuck you and I went somewhere else. He even has one of Hollywood's top publicists on TV selling the latest and greatest iteration of Charlie Sheen. But hidden from view as Charlie rises and falls and rises again is a consequence can't escape. One that threatens not just his livelihood, but his life. The fact is HIV positive. And that sent shockwaves throughout the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, we were shocked, but we weren't shocked. Like, it was like shocking, but not shocking.
I'm not really surprised.
All the hookers you fucked, all the crazy shit you've done. Like, there are certain people that you hear all their sex stories, their sex page, and the first thought is, how do you not have HIV? Mm-hmm. How does he not have AIDS? Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I used to think that about Jerry. Because of all the promiscuous sex that he has. Like, how? And then I found out how he doesn't. He's got condoms constantly. He keeps them in his pocket. Sometimes they fall out of his pocket, and I know because we used to find them in couch cushions. One time, he was using the washing machine. If you had to take the condoms out, and they exploded in the fucking washing machine.
Oh, no.
My mother cussed him and made him clean the washing machine out. She dog cussed him, which my mom doesn't normally do.
No, she doesn't.
And she made Jerry clean every last condom out of that fucking washing machine. He was in trouble. In 2012, Charlie Sheen does what few imagine possible. He walks away from the train wreck his life has been until now. Less than a year after his redemption tour, Charlie Sheen's new show, Anger Management, becomes the most watched cable premiere in U.S. history. He's also engaged again to, you guessed it, another porn actress, Brett Rossi. But things with Rossi get real dirty when in 2015, Charlie finally comes clean about something he's kept hidden. And this is when he mentioned the HIV positive. This is when he finally goes public with it. and gives this announcement. And the anger management, I never really saw that show, did you?
Every once in a while, it's just as funny when except for like he doesn't drink a drop in the whole entire series. He's like an anger therapist. He's an anger management therapist.
I'm sorry, he's what?
An anger management therapist.
He's a what?
Anger management therapist.
I'm sorry, I need to hear that one more time.
An anger management therapist.
Therapist?
Yeah.
He's a fucking therapist? Who's going to Charlie Sheen for fucking therapy? What the fuck? What the fuck?
He also does it for free out of prison as well.
Oh my god. What? What? That's like Lindsay Lohan running an AA meeting. What in the fuck? Charlie Sheen's an anger management. Now I wish I saw it. Please tell me it's on Hulu somewhere.
It's not.
I gotta find this fucking show. I need to binge watch this shit. If Charlie Sheen is an anger management therapist, I need to see this fucking show so goddamn badly. Because I would see trailers for it on FX, because I used to watch Nip Tuck on FX. Mm-hmm. But I didn't give a shit about Charlie Sheen back then. Not really. Like, I wasn't a big Charlie Sheen fan. I didn't hate him, but he wasn't like, ooh, I gotta see this. Now I gotta see this. I gotta fucking see this. I know, late to the party again. Don't give a fuck. I can binge watch the whole thing. I don't have to wait till next season or next year like you fuckers did. Brett Rossi calls off the engagement and files a lawsuit, as well as one of the former goddesses who claim that Charlie didn't tell them he was HIV positive and they could have died. But according to Charlie, it's not legitimate health concerns that are motivating some of these ex-lovers. It's blackmail. He contracted well after his relationships with the goddesses had ended. Despite the many payouts Charlie made before and after his public admission, not one of his former sexual partners contracted HIV. Alright. So none of them got HIV.
Why did they ask for money?
Because they saw an opportunity to get some money out of him.
I guess so.
Because he said, I got it well after the relationship with the goddesses have ended. The goddesses had no case. Now, Brett Rossi, she might have had a case.
True.
And I get that. And I will say this. None of these women contracted HIV. They all tried to blackmail him and try to get his money. Which I believe, again, there are women out there who will do that shit. And it pisses me off that people pretend that women aren't capable of that. If you think they're not, you're fucking crazy. I admit there are men out there who will lie and prey on women. Does gotta say there are women who will lie to get money or defame somebody out of spite. There are women crazy enough to do that shit. Now, if Charlie didn't tell Brett Rossi they had HIV, that is wrong. Because if you have a disease like this, you do need to tell somebody. People have a right to know about anything sexual about you before they enter a relationship with you. Whether it's something major like HIV or AIDS, whether you have a basic STD, or even something that's not disease related like you're trans. Those are things that people need to know before they enter a relationship with you. Because they need to make the decision for themselves whether or not this is a risk they want to take. Or whether or not they're into trans people. Because obviously being with trans is not a risk. Not a health risk. But it's still something you need to fucking know. But Charlie Sheen should have at least told his fiancée. So I understand Brett wanting to call off the engagement. Sure. I get it. Because obviously if you don't want to be with somebody who's HIV positive, because you don't want HIV. As for Chuck Lorre and his relationship with Charlie, he publicly downplays the vicious attacks on him when Charlie was fired from 2.5 Men. He claims he never felt like he was in a feud and really loved him. Really?
Oh, bullshit.
Really?
Really?
I think you knew.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think from the shit that Charlie said to you and the passive-aggressive vanity cards, you knew what the fuck was going on with Chuck. Despite that love, Chuck sees the opportunity to get the last word on the firing of Charlie Sheen from 2.5 Men. In fact, Chuck Lorre kills off the Charlie Harper character twice. The first time is when he's replaced by Ashton Kutcher in season 9. And then again in the series finale 4 years later, by saying Charlie wasn't dead and then dropped the piano on his head. Then they cut to Chuck in a director's chair and he turns to the camera and says, winning. And then a piano drops on his head. And apparently they kill everybody at the last episode. Also, as they said, they pitched the idea of dropping a piano on his head before and Charlie turned it down. So yes, Chuck, you were petty. You had to get the last word. But Charlie Sheen isn't an easy habit to break. After 12 years of cleaning up his act, it appears Charlie's finally buried the hatchet with Chuck Lorre. 2023, the two start working on a new comedy show called How to Be a Bookie. He has quit everything, including cigarettes. So Charlie Sheen is clean once again, and him and Chuck Lorre are now working together on a TV show.
Buddy buddies.
Yes, or as Zach would try to say, water under the bridge. So that's it. That was Charlie Sheen,
That was
man.
Charlie Sheen.
Zach, any final thoughts on Charlie Sheen?
Stay away from the cocaine. Somebody's done cocaine, I'll have to admit it is fun.
It's fun until you need it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up this episode of Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the 2000s. Zach, thanks so much, man, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me over
Not
here.
really on the schedule, so
Yes,
that's okay.
and tune in next week. I will be joined by the one and only Mr. Derek Shapiro. God help us all. And we're going to be diving into a topic that is guaranteed to excite you guys, but also guaranteed to have Derek come up with a lot of cringy shit, which is saying a lot considering all the cringy shit he's been saying in past episodes. But we're going to be getting into Men's Magazine's The Maxim Effect. Till next time, make sure you guys follow us on all of our podcast platforms. Link is down in the description box below. Follow us on our social media platforms. The links are down in the description box below. You can support the Boochcast by going to podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/the Boochcast/support. That link will be in the description box below at the very bottom of the list. And of course, as always, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 2000s, as well as other additional Boochcast YouTube content. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, pizza, baby!